you haven't heard, Kamala Harris will be here on Tuesday, and here's just one of the things we'll be asking her about. There's an excerpt out from her upcoming book about the presidential election where she admits that Governor Tim Walz was not her first choice to be her running mate. She really wanted Pete Buttigieg, but she didn't think it would be a winning ticket since he's gay and she's a black woman. Was she right?
Well, this is my problem with identity politics. Kamala Harris is a black woman, and she's a lot of other things. Pete Buttigieg is a gay man, and he's a lot of other things. When I look at these people, I don't look and say, well, there's a black woman, there's a gay man, end of story. Pete Buttigieg is one of my favorites because he captivates me every time he talks. He speaks across the aisle. He goes where he's getting to new audiences. When he talks on Fox, which he's one of the only people that regularly go on there, he handles questions like a boss, and he is changing hearts and minds. So I say, think back to McCain when he chose Palin. He actually wanted to use, who was his first choice? Joe Lieberman. And he thought, I can't do that because this is a Jewish man from Connecticut.
Yeah.
So he went with Sarah Palin, and that didn't work out the way he planned, I don't think. But he was probably going for the woman card. And that's why I think reducing people to one part of them is missing the entire gift of a human.
So I had a conversation with McCain about that. I was his national Hispanic chair on the 2008 campaign. And I remember him telling me that he felt he needed a wow factor. And at that point, Palin
he got a wow factor. Maybe not the wow he was hoping for.
It was not wow, it was wow. She was on a Republican. He was running against Barack Obama, who was the first African-American running for president. And it made me sad. It made me sad. And then he wrote in his last book, The Restless Wave, they were giving me their best counsel. It was sound advice. He's talking about his advisors. That I could reason for myself, McCain wrote, but my gut told me to ignore it, and I wish I had. And I wish...
With Lieberman.
Yeah. I wish Kamala had ignored it, because if you're going to lose, if you're going to run and give it your all and you're going to lose on your own terms,
well,
not what advisors
if there's
are telling
anything
you.
that Donald Trump has taught the Democrats, it's just go out there and be whatever you want. The Democrats are very cautious. Yeah. And
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
What I will say is I, too, wish that the vice president had gone with her gut, because I think Pete Buttigieg would have been could have been a game changer.
Yeah.
But I also know through my lived experience as a black woman in this country that is what people see first when they see you. Not you, perhaps not you, but a lot of people see that and they define me by that. And that is unfortunately a fact of life.
Yeah, but they did vote for a black guy twice.
Yes, they did, but not a black. But not a black woman. Okay, Hillary Clinton arguably was the most qualified candidate for the presidency that we've had, perhaps. And they couldn't get past that. I believe that was one of the reasons.
I think the problem is female.
But to be honest, black and female. Yeah. Good luck.
I think actually extraordinarily highly now of Hillary Clinton. I've never voted for her, but I think that is reductive. There were decades of oppo, of feelings people had about the Clintons. It was one of the reasons I was a Jeb supporter originally. I was like, you don't want a Bush running against a Clinton. America wants something different. So I think I still caution this. We are going to have a female president at some point. I think that Kamala Harris, I personally still think she should have chosen Josh Shapiro. I mean, elections come down to math. They come down to addition and getting more votes and getting a popular swing state governor in the most critical battleground state with 19 electoral votes who's a centrist. We forget, we think that this country is far right and far left. The vast majority of it is in the center. But I actually think Buttigieg would have been a better choice than Tim Walz. Due respect to Tim Walz, nice guy, seemed like a really decent guy. We interviewed him. But what they were doing is they were trying to pander to what they think white male voters wanted. And it turns out just kind of being a football coach who wears camo every now and then wasn't enough. So having a guy like Buttigieg who can debate on Fox News with Republicans, go toe-to-toe with Andrew Schultz, people see him as a lot more.
He's a war veteran.
He's a Rhodes Scholar. Like that brings
so you think a gay guy could be president?
Yeah, because eventually we're going to have all of the above.
For the country.
If we stop people and keep limiting what they're capable of,
I don't think American thinking about that he's gay. I don't think most people lead with identity.
But what I'm saying
I do agree with Sunny's point. Like, you can't just wipe away someone's identity, but I think most people see Pete Buttigieg as a lot more than just being a gay man.
But if you keep saying to the American people, we can't, we won't, we never will, we never would have had President Obama twice. It was because of his charisma. It was because of his confidence and competence.
But, I agree with everything you're saying, but, we're in a lot of trouble in this country right now.
Yeah.
So it's a very important election that we're going to have the next time. You can't really take too many chances because we could be...
I think not
we'll
taking
end up with
chances is how
another
you
term with
lose.
Trump.
That's why we go with Governor
hindsight,
Westmore.
though, the LGBTQ issue became such a big issue in that campaign that I wonder if having a Pete Buttigieg who could defend it and show a beautiful, loving LGBTQ family, him, his husband, his 2 children, wouldn't have been the counter that we needed. But I also want us to remember that when Kamala made this choice, it was a very abridged campaign. She had 107 days, as is the title of her book, and she had 16 days to pick a vice president. So the normal vetting, spending time together, chemistry test that, that McCain had. McCain had months and months and months. A lot of people get, months to do this. I think it's not a good idea to put somebody on the ticket that you don't know well and have chemistry with.
Chemistry is...
We saw Bill Clinton choose Al Gore. People said you shouldn't have 2 Southerners. People, he was a Southern senator, Gore. Clinton was a Southern governor. They got along, at least for the first few years.
Well, and the reality is, too, I think to a lot of people, the most significant moment of Tim Walz was the Vance-Tim Walz debate. And I objectively think that J.D. Vance won that debate. And the problem was he could not run away from what would have come up in a basic vetting was he misled about where he was and the time that he spent. That should have come up in a longer vet. You want someone where that's not going to come up with 7 million people watching.
The Hot Topics continue on The Weekend View, streaming on ABC Live Saturday and Sundays at 7:30 and 9:30 a.m.